Well,
or that was the foxhole one.
That was the foxhole
Yeah.
one.
This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America. Hello and good evening to everybody out there. This is June the 30th, and you're watching Amateur Radio Roundtable. I'm Tom Medlin, W5KUB. And if you've been listening on shortwave on WBCQ on 5130, this is a ham radio program. We welcome you to stick around and listen to it and join in the hobby with us. And you can actually, if you have internet capability where you are, you can actually join the show. We are at W5KUB.com. You can go there and you can watch the show, and you can actually chat with us there. If you're out there, send us an email to tom@w5kub.com and tell us where you are in the world and give us a signal report. We'd love to hear from you. I know the bands haven't been very good. 40 meter net was terrible tonight, so I'm not sure how well shortwave will be tonight. We got something coming up real special. Our Facebook group probably tonight will hit 10,000 members in our Facebook group. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, please join it. It's called W5KUB. That's the short form. Or you can type in Amateur Radio Roundtable, and it'll get you there. But last I checked before the show, we were about 36 or 37 people away from 10,000. And that's pretty good for a Facebook group, ham radio group. So we're real proud of that. So join us on Facebook if you can there. And let's see what else. 40 meter net every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. That would be 0030 UTC. And join us on 7180. I think we got a good show tonight. It's going to be packed. We got a lot of things going on here. Mostly, we're going to talk a little about field day tonight and a few other things. And we'll, toward the end of the show, I'll give you an update on our balloon and where it is, and we're going for lap number 3. We're getting real close for lap number 3 completion there. So let's do this. Let's go out and say hello to some of our remotes here. And I'm looking for Katie, everybody. We're going to go out to Sundance, Wyoming here, and we're going to go to the Katie Allen Show.
Oh my gosh. It's, it feels like the Monday after field day, except it's Tuesday. It always seems to take a few days to recover. It's just like, oh my goodness.
Oh man.
But man, what a year this was, I have to say. It was definitely different. There was some parts of it I enjoyed, some not so much, but had a great time with all the folks that did come and participate. And so that was, for me, that's always the best part of it, is getting together with some people. And my friends Alita, AL7 WA7AL, and her husband Mike, who's forgetting at the moment, came up from Utah, and they drove up like 10 hours, operated for the weekend, and then drove on back. And,
Oh wow.
it was crazy. But Tom Wing, who operates with us all the time, W7XP or WX7P, he had the same. He was W7ETR for 54 years,
Yeah.
and went and changed his call sign. And I'll be darned if I can ever remember the new one, but that's Alita is Tom's daughter and just became a ham about 4 or 5 years ago and up to extra class. And so it's this whole new burgeoning, ham radio father-daughter relationship, which is a lot of fun. So they got to operate together and we all got to know each other beyond Facebook, and it was really terrific. And she was into my flamingo theme, so she brought a bunch of decorations to go
Okay,
along
well,
for
that's
our
cool.
flamingos. But it was a good time, and we managed to get everything torn down and everybody back home before the really bad weather hit, including a tornado warning.
Oh,
So
gee, okay. Hey, now you got a few pictures you're going to show us tonight, right?
yeah, I'll show
Okay.
pictures later on, I
Okay.
guess, after we do our normal things.
Okay,
And
very good. Let's jump around here. Let's see. We've got hey Glen. Glen, how you doing tonight? Where's Glen?
I'm here. I thought you were going to go to somebody else before me. I thought you said I was going to be last.
Well, you're going to be next to last in the program tonight, but you're second
Oh.
in the intro.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like Katie. I'm still recovering from field day. We
Yeah.
actually, some of us went out to the park. Of course, some club members stayed home, but I was like, I'm tired of staying home. So we went out to the park and just absolutely had a blast. If we were in a sunspot minimum, you couldn't have told me. 10 and 15 were absolutely wide open for us if they were in Texas or Florida.
Well,
I mean,
you know, you know why it opened up. It was a contest. That's why the band opened.
right.
Well, I
Yeah.
can assure you, I have probably worked every ham in North Texas. And, but 10 and 15 stayed open way into the night. And we're thinking it had something to do with that Saharan dust storm, giving us essentially ducting into those areas. And
Yeah.
it was just wild. I mean, I cannot remember the last time I've had pileups on 10 meters that lasted for an hour and a half.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
I think
I don't
I
even-
ended up with 850 phone contacts, and the vast majority were on 10 or 15.
Wow.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't get down to any of the field day locations this time. I just stayed in where it was cool and
Smart.
kind of listened around here. So you're going
It
to
was
report
actually
to
good
us. You're going to
weather,
give us.
though. I mean, we had the rain to start with, and that cleared up, and it was,
Yeah.
it was warm, but it was breezy, the whole weekend. So it was nice outside, and I stayed outside. They wouldn't let me have a logger because of social distancing. So
All right.
either that, or maybe I didn't take a shower or something of that nature. But
Well,
they
all
stayed
that
away
could
from
be
me.
possible there. Hey, let's jump down to Dave real quick. Over in let's see,
Out here in
Dave is in Ridgeway, right?
Ridgeway, yes.
Without the E, Ridgeway without the E.
Without the E, yeah.
Well, I don't know how you guys did that.
7,000 feet. Well, we had a great field day. The club just had enough people there to set up the antennas. They need a certain minimum number to set up our regular antennas. So my wife and I decided that we would make an event out of this. We have not had our travel trailer anywhere since Quartz Fest. So we decided to take the travel trailer up to the site on Friday night and make a weekend out of it. And so it only took 4 people at a time to operate the 2 stations, a logger and an operator. And that left the other people sitting in the middle just jabbering. So we had a lot of fun, a lot of good food, a lot of food that's not good for me. And we just had a good time. Sunday, I helped tear everything down and came home thoroughly exhausted. So it was a good field day.
Well, all right. Well, I'm glad you survived it and you got back okay. And you got something you're going to show us a little later in the show tonight?
I sure do. I've
All
got
right.
my new clock finally working properly.
All right. I want you to tell us about that. Well, let's see. Who else we got out there? We got Glen. We got Rich. Let's just say hello. We got a guest tonight, Greg N9MOX from Indiana. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Thank you for inviting me here this evening.
All right. Well, Greg is going to talk a little tonight about their field day up in Hancock County Amateur Radio Club up in Greenfield, Indiana. So it's mostly going to be about field day tonight. But it looks like you survived. I don't see any sunburn or anything like that on you.
It's more like soggy feet because
Oh,
we
really?
had an inch and a half of rain the first morning of setup. So
Oh dear.
it made for a pleasant evening when the rain quit and the winds picked up. But yeah, everybody ended up with soggy clothes and wet feet.
Well, all right. We'll talk about that. I think you got a little PowerPoint you put together. We'll do that in just a few minutes. Katie, why don't you go ahead and pick up our friend there from CQ, and we're always happy to have Rich on, and you guys talk to us about what's coming up, okay?
All right, we can do that. But before I do that, I'm going to sneak in one quick thing because this is kind of a fun announcement to make. But I want to give a big shout out to our friend Don, who's here in the room tonight. WB3, yeah, Bravo Juliet uniform. Don passed his extra tonight. Woo-hoo!
Well, hey, get him on, put him in front.
Here he goes.
Put him in front of
Just under the wire. Yeah, exactly. Because tomorrow it's a new test session. So
where is he?
job.
You say he's there?
He's in the chat room.
Oh, in the chat room. Okay, I was going to say
Yeah.
put him on here. Okay.
No,
Cool.
and he's with us. He's a regular, so we hear him all the time.
All right.
Just wanted to give him a little bit of props for pulling that off just in the nick of time. And good job, Don. Happy to have you join the ranks of us extra people.
Congratulations. Yeah. Cool.
All right, so let's see. It is the end of the month, and as you regulars know, the last show of the month, we always bring our friend Rich Moses in, W2VU, from CQ Magazine in to talk to us about what's happening with the magazine and, of course, what the next episode or the next issue is all about. So welcome to my friend. Rich, how are you this evening?
I am fine, thank you. Enjoying sitting out on my front porch. Speaking of kudos, I want to pass along some double kudos to, I know, another one of your regulars, Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, who's our kit building editor, who got double recognition recently. We're highlighting that in the magazine in July, but the Lincoln, Nebraska Fire and Rescue people gave him a very public thank you for making face shields for them with his 3D printer, which he's had running like 24 hours a day to
Yes.
put those out. And he was also separately received the YASME Excellence Award from the YASME Foundation for all of his contributions to kit building and to teaching people how to do their own kit building.
Great.
So just wanted to start out with that, and
Yay, Joe! Woohoo!
Joe is well-deserved recognition for it. You were talking about FCC exams a minute ago, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on with test sessions. Our lead feature this month in July is about drive-in exams down in Florida. How they were able to do social distancing and still have an exam session. People drove into a parking lot that they had set up, stayed in their cars, were given their test materials, and the volunteer examiners sat outside. Fortunately, the weather was good, and were able to see everybody as they were working on the test in the car, so there was proper supervision.
Wow.
And that's our lead story for this month. I just got an email today. This is going to go into August. The Anchorage Amateur Radio Club, which has been a pioneer in remote testing, has started to do all online testing, no paper involved at all. It's all a web-based app, and you do everything electronically. It is filed electronically with the VEC, automatically graded, and if it's a weekday, send immediately to the FCC, and you should, according to them, have your call sign if you're getting a new license within an hour.
Wow.
You take your test. So that's something pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And all this talk about test sessions and remote test sessions and online test sessions made us think, there's so many of us who have been in the hobby for less than 35, 40 years. Volunteer exam testing is all we've known, but it wasn't always like that. So we dug back to the dawn of the volunteer examining system back in 1984. And 1985 was the first year in which everything was done by VEs. 1984 was kind of a combination year with some FCC testing and some volunteer testing as it was phased in. So this is the 35th anniversary of all volunteer examining. So we went back and pulled a couple of articles out from the time of the beginning of FCC, of volunteer examining, to use for our CQ Classics this month.
That's quite a milestone. Jeez.
Yeah. So we have a ticket talk column by Dick Bash, KL7IHB. Old timers will remember Dick Bash. He is responsible for having public question pools, because the license manuals before that time basically went into just the general type of question you might get, because the FCC didn't release the question. Dick recruited people to go take the test, and as soon as they finished, write down as many questions as they could remember outside the test room, as many of the questions they could remember and the answers, and then send them to him. And he basically assembled the whole group of questions that were being asked on the exams and made them available in his license guides. So people for the first time were able to study based on the real questions they were going to be asked on the test. Of course, this is commonplace today. We work with the question pools, but that was revolutionary at the time, very controversial. And the second column we had was just after the beginning of VE sessions, our Dateline Washington, D.C. column with Ted Cohen and 4XX, who writes for us from time to time, about the first volunteer exam session that was given at the Dayton Bench, if I remember correctly. I think it was supposed to be there. Let's see. Yes, it was. So, no, it was in Alaska. The Anchorage Amateur Radio Club. They did the first session, and then followed very quickly thereafter by Dayton Hamvention. But the folks who now bring you paperless exams were also the first to do volunteer exam.
Wow.
So very interesting history there. We've also got the results of the 2020 WPX Reading Contest. And great article by Bill Kenham of K5FUV on contesting your way to DX success.
Neat.
How to take advantage of all those people who show up on the air for contests to, even if you're not a contester, to pick up extra countries, counties, states, etc. for whatever award you may be chasing.
Right.
And how to use the contest to your benefit. Excuse me. We, of course, have our Hall of Fame inductee announcement in the July issue. And we've got, there was a different kind of Hall of Fame inductions this year, since we didn't have the DX and contest dinners to do them at. So they ended up being done online. And those were quite successful, but different.
Yeah.
And, you know, we also cover shortwave listening in CQ every month, listening personnel. And we encourage anybody who's listening out there on shortwave to send in your loggings to us, to Jerry Dexter, our DX listening post editor. And his column this month talks about the Radio Australia's transmitter site at Shepperton, or the former Radio Australia, shall we say, because they shut down their shortwave service, and that transmitter site was torn down, which means there is no hope of bringing back shortwave service from Radio Australia, which is really too bad. That was one of the first stations that I ever listened to as a shortwave listener myself. So it's really too bad that they've given up their shortwave. Our emergency communications column this month starts a Back to Basics series, and we talk about the basics of nets and how they operate. So we have a lot of people coming into ham radio to take part in emergency and public service communications, and there's really not that much out there on how to do it, how to join in these activities. And you can sign up with a group, but what do you do when there's an event? How do you get into a net without sounding like you've never been there before? So we try to give a little bit of advice on what a net is and how it works and how it's directed and things like that. So that's our MCOM column for this month. Joe's kit building column is about the SO2R Mini, a little controller, single PC board for single operator 2 radio contest stations. And because you've got to be able to coordinate between the 2 transmitters so that you don't have 2 on the air. And in our medium and low frequency operating column for 630 and 2200 meters, KB5NJD talks about Whisper 15, which I'll bet you've never heard of.
Mm-mm.
We got to read his column.
Okay.
And at the other end of the spectrum, our VHF Plus column is all about rain scatter on microwave frequencies, especially like 10 gigahertz. And that is something that is always fascinating, the whole concept of rain scatter, because the typical raindrop is a critical fraction of a wavelength at 10 gigahertz. And it's just right to absorb the signal and re-radiate it so that you can scatter off a rainstorm and work DX on 10 gigahertz.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Line of sight.
I mean,
yep.
I've heard of meteor scatter, but not rain scatter. I'm looking forward to reading that one.
Rain
Holy
scatter.
Yeah.
It's the same frequency as weather.
Weird.
Yep. So you basically essentially bounce your signals off of the rain clouds, and it comes down off on the other side.
Wow.
But it's the actual raindrops themselves that you're scattering your signal from.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Microwave propagation is such an amazing thing. You've got that. You have knife edge diffraction, which can take you over the top of a mountain and down the other side. So many people think of VHF, UHF, and microwave communication as being just straight line of sight. And there's just so much more to it, so much fascinating propagation out there that is just amazing. So we try to get into that as much as we can as well. Our awards column this month is on the United Nations Award Program from folks out in Vienna at the UN offices there, 4U1A. They have a whole bunch of different awards for different things, mostly tied in with working UN stations. And finally, our propagation column is about a Cycle 25 solar X-ray flare. The flare was off of related to sunspots, which clearly were from Cycle 25 because they've got reversed magnetic polarity from the Cycle 24 sunspots. So there is a Cycle 25. It is starting, and we are going to have propagation again.
Well, good.
So that's a look at some of the highlights of the July issue. We have our Summer Madness promo special going on right now. People can check that out on our website at www.cq-amateur-radio.com and take advantage of that. And just about finishing up August.
Sounds great. I know I just got my Summer Madness letter in the mail, so that's on my desk to be opened. But I like having my digital subscription because then I can just kind of pop on and take a look. It always seems like as soon as I finish talking to you about the upcoming month, I've got to go backtrack and catch up with it. Because I was like, it's always kind of fun to get like a little initial sneak peek, and then, of course, with digital subscription, you got instant gratification because it shows up,
That's right.
the next
It'll be
day.
Well,
there
hey,
tomorrow.
I like CQ, and you know
I
what?
haven't got mine yet.
Let me tell you,
Oh,
CQ's always got a nice article on about page 70. You gotta check this out on page 70 there.
Yeah. I gave in to spring madness. Does that make me ineligible for summer madness?
Well, that was spring fever, which probably was
Yeah.
poorly
Well,
named
that was
this
spring
year.
fever. Okay.
Yeah.
I signed up for 2 years.
Excellent, thank you.
Yay.
And you're welcome to sign up for more with Summer Med.
Yep, they'll just keep adding on, so
Yep.
you keep going. That's great. Well, that's terrific, Rich. Thank you so much for the update. As always, we always look forward to the end of the month time when we can get to talk with you about what's coming up, and I look forward to hearing, particularly checking out Joe's article on his new little kit, and we'll have to get him on the show soon to do a little show and tell on it, which I'm sure we can get him to do. So that sounds great.
Thank you, Rich.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. And always a pleasure to come share the fun of our next issue with you. And everybody enjoy the beginning
right.
of summer. And we'll see you next month.
We'll see you
Sounds
next
good.
month, man. All right, thanks
Stay
a lot.
healthy and stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
All right, we'll be right back just a second here, guys. All right. Get out and be active with ICOM's new IC705 and its optional multifunction backpack. The IC705 is your perfect QRP companion, as you have base station features and functionality at the tip of your fingers in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at just over 2 pounds with RF direct sampling for most of the HF bands and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz. It also has a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen with a live band scope and waterfall. It features 5 watts with the BP272 or 10 watts with 13.8 volts DC. You have single sideband CW, AM, FM, as well as full D-Star capabilities. It has a touchscreen display, micro USB connector, Bluetooth, and WLAN. It also has an integrated GPS with the antenna and with the GPS logger, a micro SD card slot, and it comes with the HM243 speaker microphone standard. The LC192 is a perfect accessory for the IC705, with a special compartment for your IC705 and room for accessories for soda, activations, or just a day in a park. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios. We are back, and we are now going to go out to, I guess, Greenfield, Indiana. I'm not sure if that's where Greg is, N9MOX. So, hey, Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine this morning, or this evening, I guess. Yeah, Greenfield is, that's where I am, and it's about 30 miles due east of Indianapolis on Interstate 70 and US 40. Those people coming from the west going to Dayton, Illinois, pass by our town. So we see a lot of APRS activity when we see when the Dayton weekend shows up.
Is that right off of Highway 70 or Interstate 70 or?
Yeah, it is. It's off of Interstate 70.
We used to for 37 years. We used to many years. We went to Dayton up north and then across 70. To Dayton, but lately, the last, 15 years, we've probably gone up through Nashville, taking that route. So, know about where you are. Hey, let's talk a little about Field Day, man. You're with a ham club there, and I think you put together a presentation for us to show us some of the pictures. And I was really impressed with you guys' pictures from last year. This year, it looks like the same site, but you didn't quite go as elaborate this year.
No, we had, it was essentially the COVID virus that kind of shut down a lot of the potential members who would come by. They just didn't want to be out there and be exposed. So we kind of wound down what we were doing and put up a less extensive antenna array that we would normally do. So, and we tried to set up the pavilion. We're in an open air pavilion with wider spacing and barriers and gaps so that people could operate and not be right on top of each other. And so I think it worked out pretty well. It was sort of an unusual exercise for us, but we still managed to operate, and nobody got overheated or hurt. So
well,
that was a good deal.
Yeah. Okay, you want to bring up your pictures and let's look at some of them.
You've disabled the screen sharing.
I have. Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to turn that on for you. Well, do I do that? Do I do that by participants? Let's see. No, I'm trying to think how I do that. I'm on screen.
I click on mine and it says it's been disabled. So there must be.
I'm clicking on screen share. Oh boy, I had to do this last week. One participant can share at a time, it says. Advanced sharing. Okay, here we go. Who can share? There we go. I think I got you. Will that work? Will that work for you?
That got it?
I think you got it, man.
Here it comes. Woohoo!
Yeah, this is just my title screen.
Yep.
This is our social distancing world. We had plenty of hand sanitizer, hand wipes, and all that kind of stuff, just so that, especially when you're operating, wipe down all the radios and the knobs and the computer and all that kind of stuff. This is us, our amateur radio club. We just recently were incorporated. We're trying to get our 501c3 so that we need to do some tower work, but we're on a commercial tower, so it's going to cost us like $2,500 to get a climber out there. So we're trying to raise funds right now.
Yeah.
This is the Catholic Church in town. They've got a lot of acreage that they're not using presently, and the Boy Scouts several years ago built this open air pavilion, so it's really handy for us. We used to meet at the county fairgrounds until the school system changed their dates around, and they now hold the 4-H fair on the same weekend as field day. So we've had to like a little closer up during setup. We set up a couple of the old Army surplus 40-foot masts.
Yeah.
One of them has a disc cone on it. One of them we load as a vertical. That's always an interesting event, especially if we have people that have never seen it done before but want to help. This is the disc cone being put together. We also use this particular tower to hoist up an inverted V. This was a sudden storm that came through, 40-mile-an-hour winds, an inch and a half of rain. They're trying to cover up all the radios. They started putting up the tarps, of course, on the wrong side of the pavilion. And this is trying to put up the antenna in the rainstorm.
Oh, wow.
And it got up. So it survived, and we almost bent it in half the first time. The guys weren't set properly. And this is our go-to station, a butternut that we set up, and one of our local hams was showing a couple of visitors the operation. We also had a satellite rig that we set up. Unfortunately, early on, it stripped one of its gears, so we weren't able to make any satellite contacts.
Oh.
Murphy always shows up at field day. We set up an antenna area where we ground it out, and then we can switch antennas with that. We run all of field day off of this diesel generator. We used to run a hydrogen fuel cell. We've done that for about 8 years, but the cost of renting a tank of hydrogen for the weekend is about $300, and that's a big chunk of our field day budget. So we eliminated that this year. Plus, it's people get worried of having a tank of hydrogen sitting around with a lot of visitors.
Yeah.
That was our switcher that we used to use. The fuel cell, if you drew more than 500 watts out of it, would shut itself down. So we built this system that would monitor and reduce the output current in case we were drawing too much. This was our solution for isolating our operators from the public and from anybody else that might be hanging around. So we hung up a bunch of shower curtains there and a little gap, and then some people didn't run loggers and some people did, but when they were running loggers, they tried to at least the logger stayed masked up. You know, the safety stuff. This is a drone picture of our operating system.
Oop, we got lost there.
Did we lose it?
No,
The drone picture is on Tom's. There it is. There it is.
That's the president of our club, John Reeves, WB9CNE. He's setting up the networking for the logs. These are our 2 operating stations that we use, and they're as far apart as we can possibly get them in the pavilion. We have a public information booth so that as visitors come in, they can pick up information, and we've got cards printed up so they can take it with us. And
did you have many visitors?
We actually had probably more visitors this year than we normally have. We had about 22 hams come and about 25 visitors this year. One of the guys in our group spent a lot of time on the phone calling our local public officials trying to get them interested in what was going on, and we ended up having the local newspaper photographer come out, and then on Sunday a reporter, and she put together essentially a full-page article in this week's local newspaper. So that was good. This is the GOTA station, and we didn't have as many kids as normal, but they were pretty active. Here was one of the guys showing people how to operate, and what confuses a lot of the kids are the section. Somebody will say, Northern New Hampshire, but they don't know what the phonetics are. So we've got a sheet there with all that stuff so they can make a quick reference. This is our local newspaper photographer interviewing our president. The guy in the blue shirt is the head of the county council, and the guy in the dark blue shirt on the other picture being shown how to operate to GOTA station. He is one of our state senators. He's also involved in Homeland Security, and it was nice to know he understood the emergency preparedness aspects of ham radio. So it's always nice to have somebody at the legislature who understands what you guys are trying to accomplish and can keep us at least in the forefront when legislation comes through. And of course, the most important part of field day is eating. So we had a variety of food and casseroles, and you see our very fancy rain gear that was put together at the last moment. Trash bags and scissors, and you're ready to go. And that's pretty much us for field day. I was trying to cut it fairly short.
All right. Well, hey, some great pictures there. Looks like you guys did have a good time, even though it got rained on and the virus was there. You still made it happen.
Yeah, and as other people are saying, we had more 10 and 15 meter contacts than we've ever had in the past. So it was quite an interesting activity there. Our go to station, we were struggling with it for a couple hours till we found out our section of LMR 400 was full of water. So, well, that happens.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, hey, Greg, N9MOX is the call there, and he's with the Hancock County Amateur Radio Club. And I think your website is w9atg.org, maybe.
Yeah, that's us, W9ATG. We operated as W9ATG. That's the club call, and we were 2A in Indiana, and so if anybody wants to look in their logs, we weren't propagation where we were wasn't super great on the bands that are normally good, but that's what happens. We had somebody make about 40 contacts on FT8, so that was kind of new for us.
Yeah. Well, all right, Greg, thanks so much for coming on here just short notice and showing us pictures of this weekend. We really appreciate it.
Well, I enjoyed the opportunity to come out and show off some of the stuff that we do, and I'm glad that...
All right. I don't know where he went. Did he leave us? I think he left us. Oops. All right. Well, look, let's jump over. I think Katie's got her pictures in line here. Katie, are you ready to show us what you did?
Sure. I got some photos, and I'm dragging Dwayne to come over and talk since he's our field day captain. And
you have a captain?
Well, I call him that just because he's the one that.
Oh, okay.
It's his call sign, so it's.
Oh yeah. Well.
If you make him captain, does he get to wear a cool little hat or something like that? We call him Skipper.
Yeah, or he gets some Captain Morgan and he does the pose.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Who is that guy that needs a haircut back there, man?
No way, it's
I'm long past the need for a haircut.
We're just waiting for Maddie to get old enough so she can braid Grandpa's hair.
I don't know who you look like, but you don't look like you.
Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Colonel Sanders. Yeah.
I'm always asking him if he brought any chicken home at the end of the day.
Oh man. All right. What happened there? Is that you,
Hold
Katie?
on. I'm trying to get my screen going. Give me 1 second here.
Time's up.
See if that worked. Ta-da!
Okay, that's the shot of at nighttime, right? That was when you were operating during the night. Oh, there's daytime.
Okay, there it is.
Cool.
Let's see if this will work for us. So this is, as I've told you guys before, we operate out of a place called Sunny Divide Community Center. And it's kind of about, I think we actually tracked it to be 15 miles away from our house, right?
Yeah.
And just in the middle of sort of good and sort of crappy cell service. So the internet isn't always so great there. And I missed, because I was working on Friday, I missed all of the setup. So I showed up just in time to get some good photos of what it all looked like after the fact. But the building here is what we use out here, and I'll have a better picture of it, is where the generator is. They get a whole big section mowed, so then the antennas could be built over there. Where are we? Yeah, we've got a tri-bander up. Bill N7QAX came over from Gillette, and on the other side of his trailer, he set up the Comet 250.
It's a vertical.
It's a vertical. Worked really quite well. And then Tom's W7XP set up a V-beam for a dipole, which is quite a bit of work. Oh, Dave's going crazy. So here's just another quick shot from looking at the.
That's the tri-bander.
Oh, that's the tri-bander right there.
That's an old gas station next to us there.
Right.
Used to be a gas station and general store up on the Sunny Divide.
Right. Are we going crazy on the show, or is everything okay?
No, everything's okay.
Okay. Sometimes on the little side screen it looked a little goofy. And just another shot. I'm just trying to get a few shots as I was driving in. Let me move along and see what we got here. Oh, so that's that flat spot. We bring the lawnmower with us so that, you could basically get this area mowed out and build your antennas. And it makes it a lot easier when you drop a screw or something, right?
Yeah.
Right. Also, it's really helpful to put your generator in the middle of the mowed grass. This year the grass was okay, but in some years it's been really dry.
Right. So that worked out well. And then also just a mowed path from the generator over to the building. Then there's one around the building out to the outhouse. So it works out, you got to have your priorities and make sure you can get where you need to go.
Are those pink flamingos?
They
Of
are. And let
course.
me tell you the story about this.
There we go.
Several years ago, probably 10 years ago or so, we invited a ham from South Dakota over to join us.
Yeah, Brian
K7RE. And we told him that bring a pink flamingo to put, out in front there. He and his wife must have brought 100 flamingos of all sorts of types. I mean, we were on top of a mountain. We had a water tank up there for the cows to drink out of, and that water tank was filled with inflatable pink flamingos. Yep. And my call is WY7 Foxtrot Delta, which stands also for Flamingo Desperados.
So that was, so we had a few flamingos that were set up in the front, and here's Bill and my mom were working on the satellite antenna. That's one of the Arrow antennas, and they were putting that together. And there might be multiple pictures. Yeah, Mom was getting the last one put in there. But it's a neat little building. And
this is the building at night.
Yeah,
I know this is a building at night. Oh, here we go. There was another shot of Mom working on the antenna. And Bill had a rough time with his
it's a homebrew rotator.
It's a homebrew rotator, and it would kind of like room, and then it went flying and fell off. So it unfortunately wasn't able to be put to use. But that's Flash. She was our mascot for the weekend, and good. That's Bill's dog, and she's a good dog. Had a lot of fun. It's kind of nice to have a little animal hanging out. So here's Bill's camper that he had set up, and had he had a table set up to build things on, and again had a radio set up in his trailer that we were going to use as a go-to station. So there's T and Dwayne working on that satellite antenna. Alita, WA7AL, and her husband Mike, KI7JDH, came up from Utah, and they had this neat little tent there. And one of the fun things about that was that Mike actually had just been down in Antarctica for work, and when COVID-19 hit, they basically everyone who was working down there was sent home. So he's fairly recently back home, but was able to show us some amazing photos from down there. That was a really neat side bit of the weekend that we were able to have, was seeing photos of places that most people never ever get to. And so this was their tent, and then ours is behind it. And so once I got there, here's part of the V-beam way off into the other field. And I started decorating. So for the Flamingo Desperados, and of course, as you guys who are regulars know, that Dwayne and I are parrot heads. So I had my 5 o'clock somewhere sign out there, and actually the lights were supposed to go inside, but that was just a quick photo. And there was me in my Jimmy Buffett shirt getting set up. I had a Landshark Lager flag, but that didn't quite work out. And then, so we also bought this air mattress a couple of years ago for field day. Well, we discovered the tent that we already had for field day barely fit that. So we had to put the air mattress inside the tent, blow it up, and then we literally had like a hole about, yay big to climb through to get in. And so I said, all right, we need a bigger tent. On this one, it's a lot bigger than I expected, but I actually kind of want to go camping now. It was a lot of fun. There was room for a couple of chairs in there, and we could run electricity in, and so yeah, it was a really neat little place. So I got my flamingo lights hanging out there, and I probably have more photos of that as we go, which is not necessary. But so next to us, or just down the way, that's the outhouse, and
looks like you could use a little work.
Yeah, it could.
Well, the thing was built in
50?
before 1950.
Yeah, just before 1950.
And probably haven't done anything to the outhouse since then.
Yeah. So let's see. I was taking some nature photos of the grasses and things. So let me just squeak past this. I apologize. I didn't have a chance to separate all my photos out for you guys. I'm just going to quickly click through some of the pretties. There we go. That's always a nice shot. You can't ever go wrong with the flags and the tri-bander. And yeah, here was the evening. There's Tom and some flamingos. Just a nice sunset as always. Now there's Flash, and Flash makes a good little critter to photograph at sunset. So I was having a good time just playing around with her in the grass and some photos. And so one of those might be turned into a Christmas present for Bill. We'll see. There's Alita hanging out on the one of the flamingo chairs in the evening. It just, it was super, super hot during the day, but then it got really quite comfortable at night. And then it was really cold at night. I was really glad that I literally packed flannel pajamas to sleep in, and I needed them. It was cold. And so, yeah, there's kind of the tent as it was done. You could see my flamingo lights all up and running in there. And okay, so here's the house. Now this is kind of fun because up here we have these little lanterns. Dwayne just bought those this year, and we thought we were going to need them in the tent, but it turned out this was actually the perfect place to have one of these. They have a high intensity LED bulb, so you could kind of pull it open and have a lot of light or a little bit. And just inside the door was a hook. So during the night, we hung it up inside of the outhouse and had it open just enough, and you had plenty of light to find your way and take care of business.
I would think you need a lot of light in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sunrise. It was a beautiful day. I just want to get back to some of our operating photos. I was really proud of my tent. Oh yeah, see, I even got my flamingo towels in there. Okay. Sorry guys. Okay, so this one, I just actually used this picture recently. Bill, N7QAX, is a retired Navy, and Dwayne served in the United States Marine Corps. So of course, sunset arrived, and it was time to properly take care of the United States flag. And there's a certain name for that, isn't it?
It's called drawing quarters.
Drawing quarters. Okay.
Yeah.
So
drawing colors.
Oh, drawing colors. So here was a shot. I just got a picture as they folded it all back up. I just thought that was a really neat, a neat ceremony. The two of them just kind of, I stayed off in the distance and just took a few photos. I don't think they even knew I was doing that, but I just thought that was kind of a really neat thing to be able to, I guess Bill spotted me in that photo. To kind of account for. Now here was something that's kind of fun. I thought, we use a lot of military masks at field day, and I always say if you ever go to a ham fest and you see a bag of military masks, grab it, because you could never have enough of this stuff. And Tom had put together a little map with his angles needed for his antennas, and that was kind of what was left on the ground after everything was built.
We had 221 feet of that stuff.
Oh yeah. And
we had some 3 foot and 4 foot, and I didn't even know they made 3 foot sections of it, but
right.
They do.
So here was our generator, the main generator that we used, just to kind of give you an idea of how far away from the building it was. And
I got to brag on the generator a little bit.
Oh yeah, please.
The generator sat for 2 years, and I pulled it out to get ready for field day. Did a little cleanup on the spark plug and turned the gas and pulled the handle, and it started on the very first pull. And I knew that was a sign that this generator is ready for field day.
Yeah, that worked out really well. And let me just get back. I have a couple of photos from inside. So the evening came along. It was a nice time to hang outside, as everyone was kind of doing, to put their feet up and relaxing a little bit. And Saturday is when, of course, everything started. Oh, and this was the Comet antenna that Bill brought and used. And he has this homebrew contraption that we put these bricks down to hold it together. But it's, normally it's the CH250. It's normally supposed to be, up a higher elevation, usually like you might attach it to the top of your camper or something, but it actually worked quite well just even being down on the ground. I was talking with Mick from Comet about it, and he's like, "Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that it went so well, especially being used out of the ordinary mode." Weeds, lots of weeds out there. Another tent shot. Sorry.
She really.
Oh, there we
liked
go.
that
I know. There's Alita and I. So there was, had to have the ham chick picture, and here was our whole team. So there's myself and Tom, W7XP. There's Flash. There's Bill, W7QNX. Alita, QAX.
Busted his call.
Sorry, Bill. I'm tired. Alita, WA7AL. Her husband, Mike, KI7JDH. And Dwayne, WI7FT. So that was our little team this year. And we just had a couple other photos here, which I think I'm pretty much done doing. Had some inside shots of it. Oh, here we go. Everybody was hanging out and visiting. As you can see, you got to have the food, just like Greg was talking about,
And
except
the Balvenie.
and a bottle of scotch in there too. But that's our field day. So, this was a little fun. In Bill's camper here, they were trying to set up the GOTA station and get Mom trying out something. So she did manage to make a contact. Now, I know you guys all realize that Mom is in extra class, but she doesn't get on the air very much, and that's our own fault. So we got to work on that. So she was ideal to get on there, but there was a lot of noise, had a little difficulty getting out there. I think, one of the challenges we found was the new rule, or the new temporary rule for this year, with the Delta stations working the other Delta stations. And
Don't get me started.
no, we're not going to start. I know that it was really rough. We just, there were stations I could hear like they're next door, and we just couldn't break through.
The drawback to allowing Deltas to work Deltas was that the field stations, the Alphas out in the field, had very hard times holding their frequencies.
Right.
I mean, we get pushed off the frequency, and that's field day is all about field. In fact, it's written right into the name of the event, field day. And I hated that they wavered the rule for Deltas to work Deltas.
Right.
We did jump into FT8, and I heard someone say that they made a few contacts on FT8.
Yeah.
We made 330.
Right. But on the other side, for me, I don't know how I really feel about using FT8 during field day. I mean, I like it to play with it at home and do other things, but when you look at the purpose behind field day, does it really answer that? I mean, it's not up for me to make that decision, but I think one of the points I wanted to make is that if you do have feedback about field day, how it went for you this year, or anything related to the new rules, then please do reach out to your ARL division director. They'll have a meeting in a couple of weeks coming up, and they'll be able to take their feedback and hopefully have a discussion about it. I don't expect that some of these rules will go on for another year, since this was obviously all particularly around COVID-19. But, before you decide to, spew about it elsewhere, get your feedback to the people that can actually affect any change if it's needed. And so, here in our division, we've already sent off a couple notes to Jeff, the division director, with some ideas and some feedback. And I think that's the best way to make it happen. And, there's always the good, bad, and ugly anytime you change something. So that's something you have to live with. But it was definitely a more challenging field day. I honestly, personally, I'm used to being able to make a call out and somebody hears me and answers me. And I sat there calling, and finally just, gave up in frustration. And then I went and had a glass of scotch, but it all worked out okay. You see Glen laughing there, but no, field day it's fun for so many reasons. It's frustrating for so many reasons, but every year at the end of it, I always tell him, like, I'm not doing this again. And then inevitably the year rolls around and I'm like, all right, let's go. It's field day time again.
No, I live for field day, man.
Well, somebody changed their call to make it match field day. So.
Yeah.
I thought that was the fire department.
Right. No,
Some people do think it's for fire department,
Yeah.
but no, it's